Once upon a time, the UFC was ruled by Americans. You had Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, Randy Couture. It was basically America versus the world. Fast forward to today. Champs from Dagestan, Australia, Spain, Brazil, and England. America kind of looking like the guy who shows up to the barbecue and realizes everybody else brought way better food. So what happened? Why are there no more American UFC champions? The answer? Money, culture, and the fact that Dagestanis wrestle before they can walk.
Zeke, Rufus, Jeep, Billy Bob, Billy Jim, Billy, Banana Fanta, Billy, Doug, Enos, Julio, Fletcher McGee, Rainchild, Zeke Jr.
Alright, I get it!
First, let's talk about money. The UFC pays bad, like actually bad. Entry-level fighters earn around $12K to show and $12K to win. After taxes, camp expenses, gym fees, and manager cuts, they might take home less than your cousin who works at Costco. Now, if you live in Brazil or Dagestan, that's still life-changing money. But in the US, it's not enough. 12 and 12 isn't a livable wage if you're training full-time with no benefits. This means a lot of Americans look at the grind, see the payday, and say, nah, I'll go sell insurance instead. Meanwhile, in countries where the cost of living is lower, fighting is a golden ticket. So ironically, the UFC's cheap fighter pay makes it harder for Americans to chase the dream. Let's be real. America has the most insane athletic pool in the world. 6'5" genetic freaks who can run a 4.4 40-yard dash, but those guys don't go into MMA. They go into football, basketball, baseball, sports where rookie contracts dwarf UFC champion purses. Think about it. Why would a kid become a fighter where you're starving, cutting weight, and risking CTE when you can play football, ride the bench, and still make millions? To be fair, football isn't safe either, but putting your health at risk might seem like it's worth it to make millions in the NFL instead of the pennies that the UFC pays. That's why the US doesn't funnel its best athletes into MMA. Meanwhile, in Dagestan or Brazil, there aren't billion-dollar leagues like the NFL and NBA competing for talent. Fighting is the way out. Now let's get technical. American wrestling is elite. It produces Olympic medals and NCAA champs, but it's laser focused on folk style. It's about pins, control, and scoring. It's great for the mat, but Dagestani and Caucasus region wrestling, that's like they hacked the code for MMA. They don't just wrestle. They mix in judo, sambo, BJJ, trips, leg rides, clinch throws, and endless ground and pound. And the result? American wrestlers enter the UFC and realize their takedowns don't translate as well when they're getting choked out or heel hooked. Just look at Bo Nickel. Everyone thought he'd be America's savior, then Reiner de Ritter TKO'd him without much resistance. It was a reality check.
Hamzat Chimaev, You're saying that his wrestling is pretty mid?
It's trash. I won't even say mid.
He's a 3-time Swedish national champion.
That's sick.
12 wins in 3 years, 0 losses.
That's incredible. 12-0 in 3 years. We're going to fight at some point, and people will realize that there's levels. And it's just so funny. You go into a world of MMA where there's no other sport where people know less and think they know more.
Here's the thing. In Dagestan, everyone wrestles. Kids grow up rolling on mats before they can tie their shoes. While American kids are learning Fortnite dances, Dagestani kids are doing double legs. And to add to that, discipline. Dagestani fighters are highly religious Muslims. No drinking, no partying, no distractions. Training is life. Compare that to the US, where even top prospects get caught up in partying, weed, and fast food. Dagestan produces world champions because the entire culture revolves around wrestling and discipline, while America produces TikTokers.
Yo, assalamu alaikum, my niggas. What's good?
MMA used to be America's thing. The UFC was born here, but now it's global. Brazil, Russia, the UK, Australia, they're all producing killers. And the UFC loves this. A champion from Australia means new markets, new fans, and new money. That's why you see champs like Volkanovski, Pereira, Edwards, and Usman. The UFC is intentionally global now, and American fighters aren't prioritized the way they once were. It's obvious that the UFC is trying to break into other markets, even if it fails like in the case of Walker versus Zhang. That was supposed to be an easy fight for Zhang to perform in front of the home crowd, but Johnny Walker got the upset. So I bet Dana wasn't ecstatic about that one. So it's no longer USA versus the world. It's more like the world versus America, and the world is winning.
Let's go for that.
Another reason, American gyms and fighters don't always take the monk-like approach. Many treat MMA like a side hustle until they make it. They train hard, but they're splitting their time between jobs, school, and partying. Meanwhile, guys in Brazil or Dagestan, fighting isn't a hobby, it's survival. For them, MMA is the only ticket out of poverty. That hunger makes a difference. It's hard to replicate that drive when you live in suburbia and DoorDash Chick-fil-A between sessions. John Jones got away with doing coke and not training, but he's a freaking outlier. Compare that to the fighting camps run by Khabib, where he'll take their phone away like he's their dad if they look sluggish in training.
I beat you after a weekend of cocaine.
One thing people forget, in America, boxing is still a giant pay draw. If you're a talented striker in the US, you're more likely to chase boxing where the paydays are life-changing. That leaves MMA with fewer elite strikers in the pipeline, while in Brazil or Europe, young fighters see the UFC as a pinnacle. Again, America's talent pool gets diluted.
I feel the guys that's in the UFC couldn't make it in boxing, so they chose the UFC. I mean, they fight for like, what, 12 minutes, tattoo their head, put a couple piercings in their lip, in their ear, whatever, and go out there and fight for a street fight for 12 minutes.
We also can't ignore history. America dominated early because MMA was new. Wrestlers from Iowa could beat karate guys from Japan. Now the sport has evolved. Other regions caught up, specialized, and surpassed. The meta has evolved, and being able to shoot a takedown isn't enough anymore. Dagestan and Brazil now do MMA the way America used to dominate basketball. They grew up with it, perfected it, and now export champions. The US had its golden age, but the torch has been passed. Here's a hot take. The UFC doesn't care if Americans hold belts anymore. Global champs mean global dollars. Islam sells arenas in Abu Dhabi. Pereira sells out Brazil. Volkanovski packs Sydney. Americans, they already buy the pay-per-views no matter what. The UFC doesn't need American champs to sell to Americans. They need foreign champs to sell overseas. So from a business standpoint, America being beltless might actually be better for the UFC. So, does this mean America will never have champs again? Not exactly. There are still prospects. There's still no money in wrestling, so there's still an incentive to try and make it in MMA. Gable Steveson is a notable example. He's a decorated American wrestler who recently had a successful MMA debut at LFA 217, so I'll be curious to see how his career plays out. But for the foreseeable future, the beltless US era is real. MMA is global, Dagestan is dominant, and America's on the outside looking in. America invented the UFC, but today, the best fighters are from everywhere else. Bad pay, better sports, better wrestling, cultural discipline, and global growth are all reasons the US has fallen behind. The world has caught up, and in MMA, the USA is no longer number one.
We're going to fight at some point, and people will realize that there's levels.